We ready to roll?
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Party started.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us here today with the first ever podcast that is of Behind the Start Line. My name is Eric Burnett. I'll be your host for this series, and joining me today and every day is my co-host. I'd like to welcome him right now, CEO of P3R. This is Troy Schooley. Troy, how's it going?
What's up, Eric? I'm ready to have some fun on this thing, man.
I'm excited. This is like, I say this about all P3R events, but this is maybe even more so than ever before. This is just like the combination of all of my greatest passions. I love to run. I love music. I love being in front of people and just entertaining people. And so talking about running and talking about people in Pittsburgh and just in the communities that influence us is something that I've been looking forward to. And doing
it's going to be
you.
a blast. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. And I love that we're able to give kind of behind the scenes to our runners, to our participants, to frankly, everybody. I think we're going to be able to show a new light of the running space. I mean, it's going to be exciting. And we're going to have awesome guests.
Totally. Yeah. We've got some great ones lined up. We've got a great one lined up today, and we'll get to that eventually. But I mean, I'm really excited. We've said peeling back the curtain, and I kind of dig that because it is a show. These events are all shows. And again, we're not just talking about the races that P3R puts on. We're going to talk about everyday experiences. Troy, actually, I was listening to the podcast that you did with the CEOs. You should know.
Yeah.
And I love the one quote that you said about your passion and what you're passionate about right now, and how seeing people crossing the finish line and seeing them overwhelmed with emotions, and behind every runner is this quote unquote, what you said was important story. And I love that.
Right.
I think that when I heard you say that, I was like, that's the essence of
Right. Yeah. And when we pull back the layer here, right, the emotion is something that I always talk about with runners. Everybody has a story in this sport.
Yep.
Everybody's a participant. You know what I mean? Like Steelers have fans, Pirates have fans. We have participants. We have 40,000 for the marathon. We have 5,000 for other events. But when we stand there at the finish line, Eric, you stand with me, most of them.
Yep.
Everybody has a story.
Yep.
You see emotion. You kind of wonder what that particular story is.
Let me pull up some of the points that I was bringing up. Okay. I mean, just some things about you, Troy. I don't want to put you too on the spot here, but you're a father of three, right?
Yeah, father of three, live in South Fayette Township. Background is a sports background, sports sales.
Mm-hmm.
Worked for ESPN, worked for Westwood One. This opportunity came up with P3R about 7 years ago. I had a recruiter reach out and say, hey, would you be interested in sports sponsorship sales? And I wasn't very happy with my job at the time. And I kind of went through the process. And after the second interview, they explained that it was with the Pittsburgh Marathon. So the first thing I said is that I'm not a runner. I have no idea what you're talking about. And, but I did know that the marathon was a major event in the city, a major sports event. Right. That's a starter. So went through the process, but as I went through the process, I realized the emotion that I talk about, standing at a finish line. I'm like, damn, we have something here.
Yep.
Not just from a sponsor standpoint, but from an overall experience standpoint, from a city standpoint, how many key, city leaders were there. I'm like, I was fortunate enough 7 years ago to come on board, and I'm here today. And I think I've grown to love the sport year after year a little bit more because I see a different story. Our kids program continues to grow. I see those kids that, when I started, were in kindergarten, first grade. They're running our 5Ks, our half marathons now. Coming up, giving me high fives. Like, I love that. So it's been a great experience. And like I said, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah. And to see all the different programs, I was just checking out the website even today, and you guys have just added so many programs, and it's not so much that it's overwhelming. Each one is unique in its own way, and it adds so much to the community. The Kids of Steel program. You
talk about programs. I mean, we have a great charity program. Raised over $13 million since inception. The kids program is the biggest kids marathon in the country, the biggest kids event. And it's just great to continue to see our programs kind of grow with our participants. And what that's helped, frankly, is we see kids that have gotten their parents running. You know what I mean? Like mothers and fathers reach out to us and say, hey, this program's awesome, not just for my kid, but I've participated in my first 5K now. Yeah. Or I've participated in my first Liberty Mile.
Yep.
So it's full encompassing. It's awesome.
It's so inspiring. And, the kids, you're right. It's my personal favorite event of the year is when the kids line up for the kids marathon on that Saturday, first Saturday in the month of May. And it's just, it's incredible just to see all the smiles, and it's so inspirational. So
it really is. There's, and we're going to talk about, I'm sure, all the behind the scenes stories, but, and I don't even think it, like with the kids, I don't even think it's, we're not looking them for be the next marathon champion or the next half marathon champion. We just want them to be more active.
Yep.
And we don't care if they continue running. Maybe they go to cycling. Maybe they pick up another sport. But if we can start them just being active and giving them what that feels to be active and frankly accomplish a goal, right? They run 26 miles, or they run 25 miles in their school, and they complete the final mile in the marathon course.
Yep.
And that sense of accomplishment for a kindergartner or a second grader is awesome.
Confidence is such an important thing, especially at that age. And I think a lot of kids, unfortunately, they can't find that outlet just naturally. And I think running is something that almost everyone can do in some way, shape, or form. And, for them to be able to find that and to find it in such a positive way that's presented by the Kids of Steel program, it's impossible to quantify. It's impossible to figure out how much of an influence it has on our community and on our world, because I feel like it's an exponential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, the programs are just incredible that you guys put on the races, 12 races. Is that still the count?
Yeah, that's how many. Actually, we're up to 13 now. We've added the turkey trot, which is going to be announced very shortly. We've partnered with the YMCA on that one. So yeah, we continue to add events that make sense. We've got great partners, event partners, right? So the Penguins, the Steelers, the city of Pittsburgh, obviously, for the great race. So we continue to build a team that are the experts in the industry to be able to do these 13 events, because it's a big undertaking, whether it's the marathon or the Liberty Mile has 1,500 people, but that's a big undertaking as well. So
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I don't mean to toot your horn while you're right here with me, but P3R, man.
Toot.
So toot away, go for it. I've been involved with a lot of events, and I've been involved with other races in other parts of the country, and you guys you do it the best, and you've nailed the event management part of the industry, and it's just exciting to see how far you'll go. I was excited to hear also from that podcast that you guys, there really is no ceiling. The sky's the limit, and it's not just races that you have in mind as well.
Well, I think that's the key. We've built such a great team that are all experts, and we feel that we can diversify obviously our bread and butter is always going to be the endurance space. We feel that we're the best in the country at that. But when you build a team of experts, whether it's marketing, communications, operations, partnerships, people want to work with you. And by doing that too, it gives the participants the best experience that we can actually provide. So, I talk around the country about partnerships and how important they are. And I think that's one thing that our sport continues to lack, is that forward thinking of developing a team of experts, not from the running space, from outside the space. If you look at our organization, we have a ton of diversity, nonprofit, for-profit, big corporations, little corporations. And I think that we mold well together of, creating that experience. So I think it's an important part of building a team, especially in the endurance space.
And it goes hand in hand. Again, I was reading the history of P3R just today, and your mentor, Patrice, she started this whole organization just by heading out and finding sponsors. And you have to team up. You have to partner with people in the community, because this is, it's such a civic event. It's such a community event.
Right. And that's a great point. And another thing is that the endurance space can show return on investment. When we go out talking to partners, we're not asking for a donation. We're saying that we can deliver that emotion that I talked about earlier at a finish line. It always makes post recap meetings with our big sponsors a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just pop on a video and just play the finish line for 2 hours and then walk out, like mic drop it. It's tremendous.
Yeah. It just sells itself.
And, I always talk about, like, being a fan of the Steelers, it's great. We love the Steelers, but those fans walk in the stadium at 11 a.m. and they leave at 4:30 p.m. after a 1 o'clock game, and they go home and they go back to their lives. our participants are thinking about when they can get that next run in,
Sure.
or when they can share that next photo of their next medal. And
Yep.
that's what's cool. We've got them locked throughout the journey,
Yep.
and we're going to take that journey with them. We're going to engage with them. So that's where we have the advantage. It's exciting to be in a sport, in a space that we can do that for not just partners, but consumers. Essentially, our participants are consumers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're part of the whole experience 100%. And you guys make that experience so enriching. And I think that is the key, is that it's this over the top, but in a great way experience. You know, there's something new every year that you bring that people, they're not expecting from the years past, you know, different celebration walls, like photo stations where you can get a great photo in front of a P3R backdrop, you know, the finisher medals, just all the swag, everything that makes them look and feel official and accomplished like they should. And it, you know, people could just stop, a race organization could just stop it, like handing them a t-shirt and a medal. But you guys, it's like a full on, it's like Willy Wonka whenever, you know, you guys are going into the,
well, you know, right. And we can't become complacent, right? Each year has to be something better, something new, something fresh. And I think that's why we have the advantage right now in the industry, is because we continue to, you know, innovate, whether it's at a start line, on the course, at an expo, switching that up, the way our social media people talk to the consumer. Like, we cannot become complacent. And I think that's the cool thing about the sport, is that we're in a sport right now that has so much room to grow. And that's exciting.
It is.
You know, we did in 2019, 80,000 participants, 80,000 finishers. And I think, you know, the exciting part about that is that could be, you know, that could be 100,000, that could be 120,000.
Sure.
You know, running's very accessible. And as our kids program, we mentioned it before, but as it grows, I mean, it's just, sorry, I'm babbling, because it's exciting to be in a space where you can see growth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you have the partners that we do, I think it's super cool.
Now, not to bring things down, but, you know, talk about growth, and obviously there's a little bit of a roadblock right now with what's going on with COVID-19 and everything. And, you know, I know you guys, and your safety is paramount. That's probably at the top of your list. You even mentioned it earlier with the kids in the kids marathon. And it's the most important thing whenever you're gathering people together, but especially now. So I know that races are going virtual, which is the best option that we have, and you guys are doing it so well. Maybe before we talk about how you're implementing virtual, what do you see, like, what do you project for the future when we start to get back into racing together? You know?
Yeah. Well, listen, I know a start line, a finish line, of course, is going to look a lot different than it did 6 months ago to a year ago. But that could be for the best. There could be additional safety measures, and I hate to bring it up, but after Boston, we changed everything that we looked about safety at a start line or a finish line.
You have to,
and
right?
that was for the benefit of the sport. So I think that COVID's going to do the same thing, is that we're going to look at a lot of things that we took for granted, or maybe, you know, didn't really care about, and say, hey, listen, let's take this up a notch. Whether it's the way we hand out water to water stop, very simple things that probably we didn't think about, that now we need to think about. You know, the $1 million question is, when are we going to be back?
Right.
And, you know, the team has done an unbelievable job with the virtual marathons, the virtual events that, you know, we're in the middle of the Gap relay right now. Liberty Mile virtual events. And the key to these virtual events is that each event has to have a different theme, a different look, a different feel. The way we talk to the participant has to be a little bit different. And I think we've done a great job about that. You know, and I talked to the team earlier today, it's not about selling shirts and medals. It's about the experience. Even though we can't give them the experience that they want, whether, you know, is
what they
lining
expected
up at a start line and crossing a finish line. But we can do a damn good job as far as engaging social media and making them, give them a goal, you know, and that's what we've done really good. Now, how long virtual plays, I'm not sure, but I know the team will continue to create innovative ideas to make sure that we're the leader in the virtual space. And I think, you know, with virtual runs too, people want a goal, right? So once again, it comes back, you're not giving them the experience that they maybe signed up for, but you're giving them a hell of a goal, and you're giving them something to look forward to, you know, whether it's a makeshift finish line or an actual finish line. So listen, we hope that we can get back to a start line very soon.
Yep. Me too.
We can't wait to see you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but I hate to say what a better time for this to happen, because that doesn't sound right in a way, but it with the technology that we have, my point is that it caters to this time, with a lot of people having GPS watches, with apps like Strava and different things that can help everyone still feel together even though they're apart. Believe me, I'm the first to say that that's not going to become the long-term new normal. Everybody wants to be physically together. We all do, whether we're running or whether we're out just having drinks. Like, what we're doing right now is not as good as sitting down in front of each other. So,
well, listen, I'll give a little bit behind the scenes, because this podcast is about behind the scenes. We want to peel back the layer.
Peel it back.
We're going to peel it back now. So our 10-miler, EQT 10-miler, we love that event, November 8th this year. Last year, the first 3 days of registration, we took around 750 people. Currently, as we sit there today, we're close to 2,000 people.
Wow.
We almost tripled our opening registration from the previous year.
That's incredible.
So what that tells me is that people are super excited to get back to a start line. 15% of those people, though, selected virtual right off the bat. So they might have seen what we did with the marathon virtual and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. I might not be comfortable coming back to a start line,
but I still want to be in it.
They do the virtual the best. And I want a goal in November to be able to run 10 miles, whether it is downtown Pittsburgh or in North Park or on one of our awesome trails around here. So that gave us a lot of hope when we saw opening of registration a couple weeks back, is that, hey, people are going to come back. We just need to make sure it's completely 100% safe.
Man, that's got to light a fire for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, the team's stoked about that. I mean, to see that happening on opening registration, when there's so much uncertainty, are these people going to come back? Are they going to be comfortable? I think that it gave us that fire that these people want to come back. We just need to make sure that it's safe and we do it right. So.
Yeah, that's priority number one.
Right.
I mean, just a little bit about me, I own Fireside Events. We're a DJ company primarily. Obviously we DJ for you guys. It's one of our favorite parts of the year, is just being a part of those races for everything that we've already talked about. But we also handle weddings a lot, and that's another part of the everyday that has just been completely put on hold. I haven't DJ'd a wedding since February, and July 11th is going to be my first one back, but who knows, that something might change then. And so it's just, it's a little crazy, but every little bit of step back to being together, like you said, just kind of lights that fire and keeps you going. And it just motivates you to stay ready, stay ready.
Yeah. And the situation's been so fluid since day one.
Yep.
It changes, literally changes every day. And I think that a lot of us at the beginning were trying to solve the world's problems in 48, 72 hours, especially after marathon cancellation. And what we realized to be very purposeful of what we're doing, and we're going to get back at some point. And if we can't get back, we're going to make the virtual events the best. So, we've kind of shifted. Instead of working 18-hour days and trying to figure out the world's problems, we'll work normal days and make sure that we're taking the proper procedures, whether it be from a live or a virtual event. So,
sure.
Hey, you mentioned, Eric, a little bit about yourself. So you are the voice of P3R.
Proud of it.
You're always so excited at our events.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background. I think the reason why you're so excited is because you have a background in running.
Yeah, I do. It's, it is a little bittersweet for sure, because I love running so much, and what better races to run than the ones that you guys put on. And so it's hard for me to not be in the races, but at the same time, I have to make a living, and there'd be no better way for me to make a living than being a part of these races that I love so much. I ran all of my life.
Division I athlete. Come on. I mean, that's a D1 athlete right there.
Well, yeah, just right over the hill, University of Pittsburgh. Yeah. Super, proud of being at Pitt. Love Oakland, love everything about this city, and, born and raised here. And I left for a little bit to go out west and, hone my DJing skills, so to speak, and then brought it back home. But, it's running I think, everyone finds something special in running. I think mine's just a little bit more like the traditional cliche sense. I just love that freedom that you get when you're out there. I love the experience of being, in nature. It's a little granola, but that's just how it is. You're out there, you're breathing the free air, and just like you said earlier, the goal setting is so. I'm very just like I'm a numbers guy, so I like to set that goal. It's a very objective thing. I feel like running is, it comes down to numbers, and it comes down to how many miles you can put in, especially when you're running at, Division I level or competing in triathlons, which I eventually did too at a high level also. It's just, it comes down to staying healthy and getting as much work in as you can when you can. And there's something about that. It was just cool to be able to grind it out every day and then see results. And I think no matter, like you said, no matter how elite you are, if you're just starting out, wherever you are in between on that spectrum, it still applies to you, and you can still appreciate that. And I think that's what's so cool about it.
Right. And I love your enthusiasm and excitement that you bring, because you get that, whether it's a 6-minute miler or a 13-minute miler, you see that goal setting. Yep. That person might've ran a 13:10 last time. They're trying to come out and break 13 minutes. And that's awesome. Like, that's what's awesome about this sport. Like I said, you can't go on you can't go on Heinz Field and catch a pass from Ben or, rush the passer.
Right.
But with our sport, you can line up at a start line with the best in the world.
Oh, I mean,
and nobody judges whether you're going to run a 5-minute mile or a 13-minute mile or a 15-minute mile. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, we're cheering just as hard at the end. I know I refuse to leave the finish line until the last person has crossed that finish line, and they deserve just as much applause. I mean, they're doing 26.2 miles in the game. You know what I mean?
The best stories come out of that last.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about the stories, seeing those people battle through and finish a marathon that probably never thought they could. I mean, that's where the true stories come from. It's awesome seeing it. So,
yep. The important stories. That's like I feel like it should be the little subtitle of the podcast. But yeah, it's, I feel very blessed, very, to have met you guys, to have been brought into the P3R family, because it just gets me, I get so jazzed.
Well, listen, Eric, this has been an awesome first episode.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're on our way to a successful podcast. Maybe. I think the one thing that we promise, regardless of me and you, I think we can promise great guests for this podcast that are probably more interesting than us. So we're excited about the great guests that we can bring on.
Pittsburgh's an incredible city. I've always known it, and there's so many amazing gems out there. Whether you know them by name yet or not, they all have those important stories, and we're gonna bring them in, and we're gonna get it out of them, and we're gonna have fun with it.
Awesome.
So, cool. Our first guest coming up with us in just a few minutes here, I guess. He's going to be phoning in. Ron Smiley. Very exciting. He was a coworker of my dad's for KDKA. He was here in 2015, and he's been with the city of Pittsburgh ever since. So we're excited to talk to him. He's also a runner. I'm not 100% sure, Troy, you might know, or maybe not, but we'll find out from him for sure which events he has done through P3R. We know that he's in the marathon weekend of events, correct?
Well, Ron is the chief meteorologist for P3R. So I don't, kind of like you, Eric, I don't allow him to participate in a lot of our events because I need to make sure that the weather is proper for our events. So Ron's probably going to be the same as you and be pissed off that he can't run in the Liberty Mile or the 10 mile or the marathon, but he's more valuable to me making sure that there's no lightning or any type of weather coming.
Well, I'll commiserate with him.
Yeah, we'll talk to him about that.
We'll cry together shortly here. So, all right. Well, coming up next, folks, we've got our first official guest on the Behind the Start Line podcast today with us from CBS News, KDKA, right here in Pittsburgh. We've got our chief meteorologist for P3R, Mr. Ron Smiley. He is an avid runner and a fan, but more importantly, the guy who makes sure that it's not going to thunder and lightning on race day.
All right. Well, hey, Ron, thanks for the time. I just want to let you know you are on the inaugural Behind the Lines podcast. This isn't like the 7th episode. This is like the inaugural one. So congrats.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're leading with fire right now, man. This is great.
Please.
Yeah.
This has been an odd year already, so hopefully we can change things around. We're at the halfway point. hopefully this podcast, we look back at 2020 and we say, this is how we kind of
This was the point. What's today's date? Ron Smiley on the podcast changed 2020.
The turning point when the tide was turned.
There we go. Who knew?
Yeah. Cool. Well, again, Troy kind of started things off by saying thank you so much for joining us and being our first official guest. It's really cool. I was unaware, but you are the chief meteorologist for P3R.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. I mean, that's the top of your resume, right?
It's got to be.
I will tell you, it is up there. I think that anytime, first off, it's really a cool experience for me to get to kind of go out and do something different than just a general forecast, to be so on point with what we're doing, where we're at, and to be really on the scene where you have that race day energy and things are going on. But on the other hand, it's a little nerve-wracking as well. And I know that Troy was around my first year when I was forecasting, and we had tremendous heat that was building. And we were looking at the possibility of, maybe having to shut the race down because it was so hot and so humid. And that was coming on my shoulders.
Right.
So,
and I think that year we were probably in contact every 5 minutes at that point, Ron, which is.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing, is that I actually go down to kind of mission control, and I'm right there in the big room with everyone else and all the big decision makers. And so most of the time, I believe this year will be, this year would have been my fourth year of forecasting. Most of the time, people leave me alone, but that first year, everybody was around me. So,
well, you experienced that pressure on the day to day, though. I mean, and I don't know if you remember me, Ron, but John Burnett's my dad, so I've experienced firsthand with him just the level of pressure that you get as a local weatherman and meteorologist, even more so. My dad, it's so funny. My dad was one of the last weathermen to get in that did not have a degree in meteorology. Stuck in under the radar. But I have to imagine that even more so when you have that degree and you are, it's your specialty, you're getting people, they either love you or they hate you, man.
It is high anxiety. Let me just tell you that. I know John, good friend. Yeah. And you really feel it once you are under that severe weather kind of blanket. When severe weather is going on, oftentimes you feel like no choice that you make is going to be the correct one. But you have to look at the best choice that you can make is on the side of making sure that everyone stays safe and that they know what's going on and that you're getting the information out there. There's always going to be those people, I look at it as a yin-yang principle. There's always going to be that small minority that's going to complain no matter what you do.
Sure.
So you can't worry about them, and that's one of the things with this industry and with this business, and especially with social media. You kind of have to have a stiff upper lip, and you have to just know your stuff, know what decisions you're making, and try to make the smartest decision on what's going on. And the fun thing with weather is that no day is ever exactly the same. So there's always something that's a little bit different in the decision making.
Especially in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think back to the 2019 marathon, even, Ron, and I think that whole week leading up, and we talk probably 5 times a day leading up to the marathon, but that whole week leading up, we were looking at thunderstorms. We were looking at severe storms.
Yep.
And we were having talks with our medical, with you, and really trying to dial it in. And the best email I ever received from you was Friday evening saying, hey, listen, the storm has shifted a little bit. You guys are going to be good for race weekend. So that's got to make you feel good too. You're giving me really bad news leading up to it. And then you just kind of push that on.
You touched on everything, because the first year was that heat that we were dealing with. But every year since then, and it just must be that first 2 to 3 weeks in May, we always seem to have the subtropical jet right on top of us. And so we always have a chance for some rain, and at times even the chance for thunderstorms. Obviously, a lot of times we don't see a lot of morning thunderstorms, but they can happen. And so, man, you're looking at when you're planning for so many thousands of racers to descend on downtown Pittsburgh, and you're running this machine that you guys do such a good job of making sure it runs nice and smooth every year, you don't want to leave anything for the chance. And unfortunately, just like you said, Pittsburgh weather, it's always going to be up to chance. And it always seems like we have this change in our weather on where exactly that subtropical jet's going to set up. And it always seems, at least since the first year, that's been right on top of us or pretty close to bringing us that rain and that storm chance. And once again, a lot of times leading up, you're getting my emails every day. We're talking on the phone. We're doing whatever we can to make sure that things that you guys are in the know of what we can expect to see. And thankfully, even though we've had those chances running up, we've had a couple of wet days, but we haven't had any thunderstorms that have been moving through over the last couple
we've been
weeks.
fine.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it that way.
Runners don't mind the a little bit of rain. That's perfect, right?
Well, I've always said, there's no better runner, more adaptable runner to the weather than the Pittsburgh runner. We run through everything from snow to sleet to humidity. Right. It's how it is. So yeah, as long as it's still safe, I think every Pittsburgh runner is ready to go, which is great.
I have to just bring up one point. And I don't know, since this is the first time, I'm just realizing right now that normally I run about an 8-minute mile, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But on this podcast right now, I think that I'm the slowest out there of all of you guys. So that's a little intimidating. Normally that's not the case.
I don't know if Troy runs.
Not me. I think you got me beat. I think I'm like an 8:30.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Listen, Eric's an elite, but me and you, Ron, we love those 8 to 9 to 15-minute pacers. And that so this podcast is about kind of the behind the scenes, talking about everybody's journey, whether you're an elite runner or a 15-minute miler. So that's why you're right down the middle, Ron. That's why we like you,
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to know, if I'm in a scary movie, that at least I'm not going to be the slowest.
You're not going to be the slowest.
You won't be the first to die. That's for
me
sure.
and you will be fighting for the first to die for sure.
Yeah, I'll be getting the dinner ready for one of us. Yeah. Well, I mean, Ron, you're passionate about weather and you're so good at it, but you're passionate about running as well. I was reading, I was totally stalking you on the KDKA website, and I saw, that you developed your passion for weather whenever you were really young, at a young age, just looking at the clouds with your neighbor, which I thought was really cool. When did the passion for running start? When did you start getting into that? Was it when you came to Pittsburgh, or was it prior?
It's been probably over the last 10 to 15 years. So a little bit about me and my family, we seem to have a really bad runner's itch. If I stop running, even for about a 2-week period, that I have to battle through runner's itch again. And so running is that method that I use also to kind of stay in shape and to kind of feel at least a little bit physically fit. And so that's why I enjoy it. So I know a lot of people always complain. They say, how can you enjoy running? But man, just hitting the road, putting on some headphones and just running and just having that straightaway or the hills in Pittsburgh, it feels so good.
Yeah, I mean, there are 80,000 runners in Pittsburgh who would agree with you that running is enjoyable. We're just talking about how many people completed races through P3R last year, and it was 80,000 plus. So you're in good company for sure. I do want to say about the runner's itch. For me, being a recent father and the owner of a business, I have such little time to get out and run. And my wife Erin, I love her to death, but it's hard to convince her, like, hey, I need to go for a run, but I might have to start using the runner's itch. Like, you know what, my skin, I've developed it and it's physically hurting me. I need to get out there.
You gotta go.
You gotta go.
You don't want to lose your time as well, because I can tell you, I believe I'm a little bit older than you. Maybe not, but maybe
I don't know.
A couple of years.
We could say numbers. I don't know.
We'll declare later. I'm not telling you how old I am.
Okay.
But no. But yeah, once you stop doing something like that, it's so hard to get it back as well.
Oh yeah.
So congratulations, first off, on being a new father. I think it's so important for us fathers, especially. And I'll tell you, you can see the pictures of me out there. Once my daughters were born, the weight started going on, and they're a little bit older right now. And it allows me to get outside and to do the work that I need to do to stay in shape and to feel great about myself as well. So that's, I think, so important.
Yeah, well, you can tell. I mean, the stalking continued, and I saw on your on your Facebook page, just you and your family. You guys look like you are very active together. Your daughters just look like they're very, you guys have fun, which is great. Yeah, and I can't wait to get to that point. My son's 6 months old, and I can roll around with them, but I don't make much of a sweat doing that. So I just can't wait to just get out there and
I understand.
Yeah,
have fun.
Well, Ron, I don't want to delay your run because I know you're heading out for a run here, which works out well for us. I got a couple small, short questions, meteorologist questions. So do you hate going to the grocery store or being out in public and having somebody ask you what the weather's going to be? Have you ever said, like, tune in at 4, 5, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and get or go online?
The only thing, I have two minor annoyances while I'm out. So the first is, and my daughters, they always laugh when this happens. If we're at a sit-down restaurant, it's so annoying to me, even though I'm always nice, but when someone comes and they want to talk to me while I'm eating. And one of the reasons for that is that after you eat, you spit a lot. So that's a little bit of an annoyance. I'm always nice and considerate, but it's funny because if you look at my daughters during that time, they're like almost like giggling with glee because they know that it is a little bit annoying.
But they probably love that for dad. Like that, you know what I mean? Like they probably think it's so cool.
I'll attest that.
You have personal experience.
No, it's funny because it got to a point eventually where I was like, here we go again, but I think as I grew older, I learned to appreciate it more. And I really, and I know you wouldn't let up on this at all, Ron, but just even more reason to continue being so nice and just open to people in the community, because one of the things I look up to about my dad the most, and what I feel like I learned, one of the best lessons from him, is to just be that person who wants to communicate with the people around him. And
that is so, and that's why I would never be rude or anything else. I oftentimes forget. I walk around all the time. I hardly ever see anyone that, that is, kind of local famous or anything else. But everywhere I go, if people notice me, then maybe they feel that I'm local famous to them.
Well, you are.
So you always want
you are.
Right, yeah. So you always want to, I'm always appreciative of that. I'm just so thankful, just like your dad is, with the job that I've been entrusted with, working at KDKA. It's such an amazing job as well. So I'm always thankful, and I'm never going to not show that appreciation when people come up and start to talk. The other one I'll just quickly say, when I'm talking to people, the one joke that I've heard a million times, and I wish that I just had a nickel for every time, is when, and I know it's coming, they'll kind of laugh a little bit, and they'll be like, I wish I could have a job that it gets paid to be half.
Right. 50% of the time.
50% of the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And they say it to me like they're the first person.
Oh, like it's brilliant. Like groundbreaking joke.
Right, I know it's coming, and it's like, oh my gosh, here it comes, and there's just nothing you can do. But God bless them. It makes me laugh. It's a little annoying, but it just makes me laugh.
Wait, about the job, I texted my dad because I had to before we started chatting here, and I was like, Dad, what do you want to say to Ron? And his question that he's feeding me here actually is something in line with what I was saying, and it is, have you gotten used to, is it waking up at 4:30 or being there doing the weather at 4:30 in the morning? So
we go on at 4:30. So
what time do you wake up?
2 o'clock is what time I wake up every morning.
Right.
So 1:45 to 2. I think at this point, and if I did have a superpower per se, it's the fact that I can function pretty regularly on about 5 hours of sleep. Which is very important when you have children around.
Right.
So, I don't know if you can ever get used to waking up at any time. But I think that I'm about as used to waking up at 2 o'clock as you can possibly be. I feel comfortable when I wake up at 2. I feel good. And in fact, when I don't wake up at 2, I still wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sure, right. You're in the routine.
Yeah, you get into the routine. And so
just a follow-up question to that. I know you got to get going, but
no problem.
With you waking up at 1:45 in the morning, what's your running time? Like when do you get runs in? Because you're either doing it like in the heat of the day when you get home or at midnight.
Right. Yeah.
Before you go to work.
So my crazy. Yeah. So I don't do it in the morning.
Sure.
But what I do, I do some quick, I have the same ab routine that I do every morning. Or at least 4 out of the 5 days. So sometimes there'll be that one day where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this today. And so I won't do it. A lot of times I will get my first run in if I'm doing 2 runs before noon. So at this point I'm off at 10 every day. So, so I might go in and, once I get home, I guess my last show is at 10, I leave at around 11. So I try to, instead of taking a nap, it's so important just to get a run in. It gives you so much more energy instead of taking that nap. And then a lot of times I'll wait until about sunset, about an hour and a half before I go to bed, and I might do a quick run.
You do 2 runs in a day.
Sometimes, not all the time.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Man.
sometimes. Well, I'm not you, so I mean, I'm looking.
I'm not you. I don't do 2 runs in a day anymore. That's awesome.
Yeah, when I get a chance, then yeah, it's 2 runs. But generally, both of them are pretty short. And then my Saturday, well, my 2 rules are on Friday I don't run, and then on Saturday that's my long run. So that's when I'll do 4 to 6, or maybe even longer, depending on what time of the year it is and what I'm getting ready for.
You're my hero, Ron Smiley.
Awesome.
You're my hero.
That's why he is the chief meteorologist of P3R right there.
That's it.
Dedicated people.
So how much does it bug you to not be able to race in a P3R race?
It is weird. And one of the reasons it's weird is because everyone always asks me, "Oh, are you racing?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not racing. I have to, I love forecasting them, but it would be awesome also to be able to race, especially the Pittsburgh Marathon. That's the one that it just is unfortunate that I'll never be able, I guess, to race it right now. So I always get out for the great race. I was going to do the mile, the Liberty Mile as well this year. So there are times, and there are those some of them that I do get to do when I don't have to be there. But the big one, the marathon, at least while I'm on with you guys, at least until you don't invite me back.
We'll figure it out some year.
Yeah,
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Do a report from the streets.
Well, because I can't.
That 26.4 miles this year. I'm so sorry.
Well, let's do this, Rod. I can't do it. I can't do it either because I'm DJing every year. So how about we pick a day in May?
Okay.
A good day weather-wise. We've got the right guy to talk to about that. Yeah. And we'll just go out and we'll run. I can't guarantee 20. I've never run a marathon in my life. I've done I've done a handful of halves. But how about we do? How about we commit to doing
the half next year? Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Do that. We can do that. We can do a half.
So, but we could do like a virtual. We can basically do a virtual together, and we'll go. We'll be there. We'll have our phones. If one of us passes out, the other person can call.
I'll meet you guys at the finish line. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'll be at the finish line.
Troy's good for that. He'll come and pick us up.
I'm good at standing around the finish line.
Yeah, that's.
I'm really good. Yeah, I'm really good at standing around the finish line.
Yeah.
Oh, Ron. Well, we're glad to have you here, Ron. And I totally lied to you, but we have one more question. If I didn't ask it, our producers here would have my head. What's the one thing that would surprise people to know about you?
Ooh, what is the one thing? Oh, here it is.
Yes.
So
yes.
So before there were GPS, I'm a nerd. I'm just going to throw that out there right here.
Nerds are the best.
So, right. So I have always had this insane ability to be able to read a map, and so even before GPS, I was that person, and I don't think my dad understood how lucky he was. When we go on long trips, I would plot them out. I would have the big atlas out, figuring out the mileage that was left, all of the turns, everything else. He had to do no work whatsoever. So that I guess would be my random fact is that.
Wow.
If you ever, I'm that person sometimes on social media. I actually post about beautiful maps because I appreciate them so much. And if I wasn't able to be a forecaster, probably map making and being a photographer.
That's cool.
Is the thing that, and they are actually pretty close together. I mean, I had to make maps in college and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that I really love to do. So I have a love of maps. And if you ever need someone to read a map down to the last detail, I'm your guy.
Wow. Even more reason for us to run the
That's going to be a tough one to beat right there. Wow.
It is. Yeah, he's setting it.
First podcast, he goes to the top of the list as a map maker, of building GPS. Guy's amazing.
Yeah. I'm a human GPS, right?
You are a living, breathing GPS, and that's why I want you to run the virtual half marathon with me next year.
Supposedly I even have the voice.
Yeah. Cool, Ron. Well, hey, thank you so much. This is great. I hope you had a good time.
Hey, good luck to you guys also. I don't know how often you're going to do the podcast, but this is so cool.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, Ron.
Well, we appreciate you.
Hopefully we have a couple more episodes left in us.
Yeah, hopefully they don't
The
can us.
producers, yeah, we might be done after episode 1, but you'll come back.
1 year anniversary. Bring me back.
Yes. Put it in the calendar. All right, Ron. Well, hey, have a great time on your run. Tell your family we said hello, and tell your daughters to get ready for the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile in 2021. Next time, we'll see you on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. Have a good day.
All right, folks, that's going to do it. This has been our first ever episode of Behind the Start Line. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to tune in with us. I also want to thank our special guest, Ron Smiley from KDKA, and my co-host, Troy Schooley. We'd love to hear you guys and your feedback as well. You can always reach out to us on @RunWithP3R on any and all of our social media platforms. This is also where you can follow us for exciting information about upcoming events and when our next episodes will be airing. Once again, this has been Behind the Start Line. I'm your host, Eric Burnett. Until next time, have fun and keep moving.